Fire broke out in a training building at the largest nuclear power plant in Europe during intense fighting between Russia and Ukrainian forces. Despite fears of a possible leak, authorities now say there is no indication of elevated radiation levels at the plant.
As if this crisis weren't dire enough, these images hold the prospect of a whole new horror in Ukraine. The shelling of the largest nuclear power plant of its kind in Europe causing a fire. No one here needs any reminder of the potential for nuclear catastrophe. And Ukraine's president said this took the war into dangerous new territory.
If there is an explosion, that's the end for everyone, the end for Europe, the evacuation of Europe. Only urgent action by Europe can stop the Russian troops. Do not allow the death of Europe from a catastrophe at a nuclear power station.
The attack on Ukraine's infrastructure is just one of multiple fronts in an invasion that Vladimir Putin says is going to plan. This is what that looks like. Apartment buildings in the town of Borodyanka, 50 kilometers from the capital Kiev, still smouldering. The road littered with the debris of an assault that Russia says is not targeting civilians. But it is in the major cities that the fighting has intensified. Russia's defense ministry released these pictures, along with claims to have destroyed hundreds of military targets. Ukraine says that troops from Belarus have now been given the go-ahead to join the Russian invasion. Lined up against them is condemnation from around the globe. The US Secretary of State embarking on another European tour to show Russia the West remains united. In Washington, the president tightened the sanction pressure on Moscow.
Today I'm announcing that we're adding dozens of names to the list, including one of Russia's wealthiest billionaires, and I'm banning travel to America by more than 50 Russian oligarchs, their families, and their close associates.
It's ordinary Russians feeling that pressure so far. IKEA, the latest foreign company to close its doors. As all over Europe, countries are throwing open theirs. More than 1 million refugees have left in the first week, crossing the border to safety but uncertainty. A massive humanitarian operation spreading across Eastern Europe, one that will need to cope with much, much more in the weeks to come. When you consider what they've left behind, how must this show of humanity feel? Such a welcome for people who have no idea when, if ever, they'll go back to those they've left behind. Greg Milam, Sky News.
In recent news, Ukrainian authorities claim Russian troops have seized control of the nuclear power plant. Russia's defense ministry says staff are running the plant as normal and are monitoring radiation levels. Firefighters were unable to reach the fire until 4 a.m. local time after the shelling from Russian troops eased. It's reported 2 security personnel were injured during the fire.